Good morning, and thank you for attending Police Headquarters. My name is Constable Carolyn DeClute, and I'm here today to introduce Acting Staff Superintendent Bryce Evans. He will be updating you on the investigation into the Ashley Madison website hack.
Good morning, and thank you for attending today's media conference in regards to Project Unicorn, worldly known as the Ashley Madison hack. First off, I want to acknowledge the presence of our law enforcement partners who have joined us here today. To my right, I have from the Ontario Provincial Police, Acting Superintendent Lisa Taylor. She is from their Electronics Crime Section. From the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, I have the Assistant Attaché, Special Agent Ron Marcel, who's assisting us with his people also. Although not represented here today, we have also been working closely in this investigation with the RCMP, the FBI, as well as the Ministry of the Attorney General's Criminal Law Office. We have also received full cooperation from law enforcement groups around the world. The purpose of this media conference is to inform the public about the Ashley Madison hacking investigation, given the enormous amount of interest that these events have generated. By way of background, Avid Life Media is a bona fide social networking company that operates several dating sites, including Ashley Madison and Established Men. Avid Life Media is based in Canada. Ashley Madison itself is an online dating service and social networking site marketed to people who are married or in a committed relationship. Its logo is "Life is short, having an affair." This website was launched in 2001. Established Men identifies itself as an online dating site that connects young women with successful men. On July 12th, when several Avid Life Media employees arrived at work and powered up their laptops, a threatening message popped up on their screens, which was accompanied by the song "Thunderstruck" by AC/DC, which was playing. The posted threat was directed specifically to, as you see, AM, which is Ashley Madison, and EM, which is Established Men, and it directed Avid Life Media to immediately and permanently shut down both sites. The person or persons who posted this threat identify themselves as the Impact Team. The consequences for not complying, as noted in this threat, would be the release of Ashley Madison and Established Men client lists, including their names, client profiles, and credit card data. Avid Life Media took immediate steps. They commenced an internal investigation. They hired a private investigation company and secured the services of Secura, a company that was established by some of the world-leading security experts. Within days of their investigation, they contacted the Toronto Police Service. When reporting these events to the police, Avid Life Media advised that the suspects had in fact already made good on the threat by releasing the information on two Ashley Madison clients, one from Mississauga, Ontario, and the other from Brockton, Massachusetts, through the internet, which happened on July the 19th. Despite the efforts by Secura and the Toronto Police Service to prevent any further release of client information, on August 17th, the Impact Team released the entire Ashley Madison client list, which is over 30 million members worldwide, through the internet on a BitTorrent site. The Established Men's client list was not released. With the release of this information came a message from the Impact Team titled "Time's Up." A third message was received this past Thursday, wherein the Impact Team taunts the CEO of Avid Life Media by stating, "Hey Noel, you can admit it's real now." This was accompanied by the release of his emails from Avid Life Media. the same way as they did with the client list. The Toronto Police Service and our law enforcement partners are mindful of the fact that the enormous interest in these events is based on the nature of Ashley Madison's website. That is of no interest to us as the investigative teams. As you are well aware, our role as a policing organization is to conduct criminal investigations and to provide the safety and security to the communities that we serve. The fact that some people are offended by this service provided by Ashley Madison cannot deter us, and it will not deter us from conducting a vigorous and thorough investigation. As of today's date, the investigative team has found no criminal wrongdoing involving Avid Life Media. On the contrary, the actions of the hackers is clearly criminal in nature. Avid Life Media has been fully cooperating with the police investigation. This hack is one of the largest data breaches in the world, and is very unique on its own that it exposed tens of millions of people's personal information, including their credit card data, that Avid Life had obtained primarily through personal email addresses of their members. Previous high-profile hacks have infiltrated government sites and those of large corporations, as we witnessed with Target when 40 million credit card profiles were taken. This was done by an organized criminal group for the purposes of manufacturing more credit cards for purposes of making money. The ripple effect of the impact team's actions has and will continue to have a long-term social and economic impacts, and they have already sparked spin-offs of crimes and further victimization. As of this morning, we have 2 unconfirmed reports of suicides that are associated because of the leak of Ashley Madison's customers' profiles. Criminals have already engaged in online scams by claiming to provide to the leaked database access to the complete, I say it again, criminals have already engaged in online scams by claiming to provide access to the leaked websites. The public needs to be aware that by clicking on these links, you are exposing your computers to malware, spyware, adware, and viruses. There is also websites that are offering to erase customer profiles from the database for a fee. This is also a scam. Multiple sites are now being downloaded and they're present. Nobody is going to be able to release and erase that information. In addition, there are confirmed cases of criminals attempting to extort Ashley Madison's clients by threatening to expose that they are on the list unless payment is received. For those of you who don't know, 1.05 Bitcoins is equivalent to $300 Canadian. We would like also to confirm for the public that some credit card information of Ashley Madison's clients was in fact released as part of the data compromise. This includes names, billing details, home addresses, and transaction records. Although it is our belief today that only the last 4 digits of the cards were obtained and released, we encourage anyone affected by this to review your credit card records and to take the appropriate measurements to protect your accounts. I also encourage persons who have been victimized and extorted due to the database leaks to contact your local law enforcement agencies and report these incidents. In conclusion, I am well aware that the Impact Team hackers will be taking an interest in this media conference. Therefore, I'm going to direct these comments to them. Team Impact, I want to make it very clear to you, your actions are illegal and we will not be tolerated. This is your wake-up call. We are now doing a serious investigation, inviting all our partnerships from around the world to assist us in investigations. We will continue to work with our law enforcement partners around the world in order to stop or minimize the social and economic impacts of your actions, and to prevent and stop the criminals from capitalizing on your reckless and illegal activity. We have highly skilled investigators, and the investigation is progressing in a positive fashion. To the hacking community, who engage in discussions on the dark web and who no doubt have information that could assist in this investigation, we are also appealing to you to do the right thing. To acknowledge that this is a unique situation that has caused enormous social and economic fallout. You know the impact team has crossed the line. Do the right thing and reach out to us. To the open source tech community who continue to offer us free support, I want to personally thank you for your efforts. I encourage anyone who has information to assist and identify the impact team to contact Crime Stoppers or the Ashley Madison Task Force number at 416-808-2040. The Toronto Police Service continues to use social media to communicate with the public. As such, we encourage those on social media platforms to use the hashtag AMCaseTPS to discuss the issues surrounding this case. We will do our best to answer your questions through these channels and direct you to the investigative teams that can assist you with your concerns. A Twitter account of @AMCaseTPS has also been set up in relation to this investigation. Today, I can confirm that Avid Life Media is offering a $500,000 reward to anyone providing information that leads to the identification, arrest, and prosecution of the person or persons responsible for the leak of the Ashley Madison database. Now, before we engage in the question and answer forum, I want to make it perfectly clear to everybody in the room here, we are presently engaged in an active and an ongoing police investigation surrounding these events. As such, we will be limited on what we can supply what information to you. We acknowledge our obligation is to inform the public. However, we are mindful not to release information that could compromise our criminal investigation. In addition, we will not be commenting on any individual Ashley Madison's clients' accounts. A list of applicable offenses determined in consultation with Crown Law Office is being provided to you. Prior to asking your questions, can you advise who you're addressing your question to? For example, Toronto Police Service, OPP, then ask the question. Also, if you have any questions directed to the RCMP, they have requested that you contact the RCMP National Communications in Ottawa, and the phone number they provided us is 613-843-5999. I want to acknowledge that I have Detective John Menard from our tech section. He's going to be in position not to give you any technical information. We'll allow that. However, nothing that's going to identify what we're doing as this investigation. Okay, so we'll start with questions.
Can you just sort of, I was a little confused.
Right, Toronto Police?
Yes, Toronto Police.
Yes.
I lost you a little on the timeline. Can you just explain when that AC/DC song came on?
July 12th.
So on July 12th, that showed up on whose computer?
Employees of Avid Life Media when they came to work and they powered up their computers.
Okay. And the next message was upon the release of the data on the 17th, the time's up.
That's correct.
And the email that went to Noel was the third message?
Yes.
Okay. Can you just talk a little bit about the nature of those messages and what that tells you about who is behind this? Is that highly sophisticated, or can any 16-year-old who knows what they're doing on the internet figure that out?
We have found in police investigation in the cyber world, it can go from many ages. But when you look at the actual messaging, the wording of the message is directed to Ashley Madison. So I doubt a 16-year-old would be in a position to have that pertinent information.
You also mentioned the unconfirmed reports of suicide. I'm wondering if those are here in Toronto or elsewhere in the world.
I haven't been told. We are going to be looking into it.
Just update the investigation itself as to what kind of progress we're making catching people responsible for this.
When we brought the entire team together of the RCMP, the OPP, Homeland Security, FBI, and the Toronto Police Service, we have unlimited resources, and we also have law enforcement groups who have an interest throughout the world because it's affected also people within their jurisdictions. So now we know that this is a highly educated hack, and we also know that we are bringing our experts together collectively to resolve this, and I feel good with the way the investigation is going at this time.
Are you getting calls from people who have received these extortion emails, and are they, in Toronto and I guess the other?
Well, I don't want to say where they're from, but we're getting a variety of these messages sent to us. So we are knowing that it's out there, and we want to make people aware that if they are the victim of an extortion, do not pay it. Do contact their local law enforcement agency.
You said that this is one of the largest breaches in the world. Can you speak to just the challenges of investigating something so big and something that's on a part of the internet that is so complicated and so secretive?
Well, the problem we're having is, as you know, in the internet, as we deal with child exploitation cases, it's all over the world. These people who are hackers, these people are sending messages. They go through a lot of different areas. We call them the terminal feeders. Yeah. So it's going through many areas, and what happens is that it's going back, and it becomes dead ends. But we travel so many places, we reach out to law enforcement throughout the world to check and follow through, and it comes to another area. So, for example, it might have been in Italy. We followed up with, and Italy says well, it came through Germany. It's very difficult. There's no doubt, and that's why we're appealing to all groups, even the hacker groups, community, because we know that they have certain techniques to help us and assist us.
So when it comes to the extortion, are you finding that it's people that are just going online, finding the list, and contacting people at random?
We have no idea. We do know that obviously they have the personal email addresses of the people's profiles, so they had to have gotten it from the downloaded list.
Are you aware of anyone who actually has gone to the extent and purchased Bitcoin and transferred it to the people on the other end of those emails?
No, this is the first email that we saw that was actually a Bitcoin request.
Do you understand?
You've issued an appeal for hacker, obviously to the people who've hacked actually Madison, but you're also issuing another appeal to hackers who aren't involved in this. Can you just expand on that a little bit?
Well, for example, we know that the hackers community, there's no doubt with 30 million people plus victimized, there's no doubt maybe some of them have been victimized, their family members or their personal friends. This type of a hack is different than most because as the previous ones we witnessed, they go into government sites to shut them down, or the organized criminals go in and try and grab credit cards. This one has victimized innocent people through a company's profile, their personal profile. That is unique in itself, and also the credit card. So there's two different components here. I'm concerned that this has gone over the line, because if this is a continuation of what hacking community is going to be doing, then each and every one of you are going to be compromised no matter what, whether you're on a website, of a dating website, or some other website. We're just trying to say this is drawn over the line.
And you want those hackers to come and help police hack into it or get information on your behalf?
We're appealing to them to give us any assistance that can identify the impact team.
Has there been any evidence, I know that the hackers originally said that the full delete function didn't work. Has there been any investigation on that side of things? I know you mentioned that the company hasn't been found to have any wrongdoing, but on that initial claim, have you looked into that at all?
I lost the question.
Sorry, the hackers claimed that there was a full delete function, that someone could pay to get their information taken completely off the site, and it didn't actually do that. Is there any...
We haven't witnessed that. There is no full delete function. The list, once the list was released, it was released to the general population.
I mean, before that,
We're not aware of that.
So as far as you know, it worked. If they paid for it, it worked?
Possibility. That's something like our investigation, seriously, right now, this time is the focus of the enormous impacts of what's happening around the world. We will be drilling down, but unfortunately, we prioritize the way the investigation is going.
is it possible that the company could be the subject of a connected investigation?
If there's criminal wrongdoing, we find it, obviously, but right now, I'll tell you, they've been fully cooperative. They've been giving us their resources. The private investigation team, Secura, they're fully assisting us. So there hasn't been anyone where there's any interference at all. They've been fully cooperating. So, like I said, my focus right now is, you got to understand, this is over 30 million people around the world that are being compromised.
Mr. Evans, you said measures were taken to try and prevent the dump from happening. It seems to me as it might be a bit out of the ordinary in as much as you're not only investigating. It seems to me like you're taking active measures, or you were at some point. Could you kind of describe that and help us understand what it meant?
Okay, you got to repeat that, buddy.
Okay, at some point during what you said, your remarks, you said in between the emails that went back and forth and to Ashley Madison, steps were taken to try and prevent information from becoming public. Could to me, it looks like you took active steps to kind of slow down something that was going to happen. Can you expand on that?
No, that's a part of our investigation.
Can you
What
just
are
talk a
some
bit
of the
about the
charges?
Toronto connection as far as either Rapid Life or Madison actually users or hackers? And when you're doing this news conference, can you just expand more on what the specific Toronto concern is or connection?
Customers. I mean, you guys see there's been so many articles in the media where even one group have actually identified through postal codes. That's not our function. We're not worried about how many customers. Our is investigations for criminality and also to continue to protect the for further victimization.
That's
That's our
what calls from concerned Torontonians.
There's been nobody, I am the overseer of the investigation. I have received nobody of any status within Toronto or anyone phone up and saying, I got a concern, or they're saying, please help me. It has not happened.
Anything make you believe that the hackers could be in Toronto?
Well, I look at, they're focusing on Ashley Madison, sorry, Avalite Media is a Toronto-based company. That's their focus.
Any
Can
chance
I
we could
just
speak
ask you
with,
about the onus of the company? I know you touched on that briefly, but I'm just wondering, the site says guarantee secure, there's all those little logos and blocks suggesting that the security is there and your privacy will be protected. So I'm just wondering if you can speak to the fact that maybe there are no guarantees, and is the onus on people here that they should have known better, or that
I think reality, if you look at it, you all report in the media, we have government sites that are being hacked into, okay? Anything can be hacked. Most people will, and they continue to put up their best security measures to assist them. But the reality is, we witness it happens not just at Avalite Media, it's happening in government, corporations. So the reality is, anything right now we can see can be hacked.
So there's no suggestion here, though, that they perhaps didn't do enough to protect their customers?
No, we have not explored that, and that'll be something that's a company issue or a company concern. We are looking at the criminality.
There are a number of websites where you can just type in someone's email address and see if they had a profile or whatever. That information's out there. So for these people who are trying to extort that, saying, pay me this and I'll make sure your information isn't released, I mean, that information has already been released.
Well, what you have to look at is some of those websites, as much as you're trying to find out whether your friend, your neighbor, or your coworkers, a lot of those websites are set up by criminal groups. So when you're punching in an address or punching in a name, in fact, what you're doing is you're actually activating malware, spyware, viruses in your computer. There is the list that is out there, but we got to appreciate this. It wasn't a list that was taken by the impact team, where they actually broke it down. You had to have some technical knowledge, as you are well aware, because you were looking at the sites, to sit there and try and decipher the information. So whether or not there are some sites that now have the actual list, we got to verify that 100%. I mean, we got to appreciate it's 30 million emails plus. So we're just warning you guys, because as much as you say the sites are there, we also know that the criminal element has already set up sites for them.
And that's part of that, previous to today or in the past when we've been reporting this, we've been careful to say that this is unverified. Are you saying that these emails and these users are now, you verified that these are actual people?
We have our investigation spot checked. Not we did the entire list, it's too time consuming. There has been active people that are on the list that are validated. We cannot at this time say that we validated the entire list, because we don't have the capabilities at this time to spend the time on that. But we know through spot checks we have identified there are valid customers.
There's a widespread understanding that quite a lot of the names may be fake or have been created without a real person behind them. Would you be able to say with some certainty what percentage out of those spot checks, or you can extrapolate out whether there's 30 million email addresses, but how many real people behind them?
Well, the investigation to date reveals this, is that when a person signs up to be part of an Ashley Madison client, they give information. That information is set forward so that if a person over here, who's also a member, wants to meet up, they go through a connection. They don't do a direct email or telephone to telephone. So this person on the other side will get a hit that's going to say this person wants to meet with you. That would have to be a contact for the Ashley Avid Life Media to notify this person. So whether or not some people, as you know, would just go in there and put profiles because they enjoy looking, checking, not to actively do nothing. But I'm just saying at the end of the day, we cannot say in certainty what percentage may not, but we also say that people who are real life people may have put fake email addresses in there because they're not actively looking, but they just want to peruse the site, have access to the site.
Mr. Evans, any chance we could speak with Special Agent Marcel?
Before you go, just for 1 second, can I just get you to expand on the 2 suicides? You kind of briefly mentioned it, but could you just give us some background on
Well,
where
I'm
that
not going to
information
divulge
came
that now because I said it's unconfirmed reports. We received that call this morning. So as a result of that, we are going to actively look in it, but
Geographically, where would they be?
I'm not going to comment. You just got to understand, people, the social impact behind this leak. We're talking about families. We're talking about their children. We're talking about their wives. We're talking about their male partners. Can you imagine going home and people talking about at the dinner table? It's going to have impacts on their lives. We now have hate crimes that are a result of this. There's so many things that are happening. So the reality is, we're saying to you at the end of the day, this is not the fun and games that have been portrayed a lot in different media outlets, live radio stations. This ain't a fun and games anymore. This is reality. It's affecting all of us.
Very
Can you
good. Mr.
confirm
Marcel.
this was a hack and not done by someone in the company?
We are not going to divulge the information in our investigation. We're looking at all avenues.
Can
Mr.
you
Marcel,
comment on
what's
the
at
charges?
stake for
Sorry.
the American government? What's at stake for the American government in that whole thing here?
Again, as Bryce had said, it's very early in the investigation. Initially, Homeland Security Investigations was not part of the investigation. We were asked by Toronto Police Service to come in and assist. As far as the network intrusion, the FBI is the lead on that. We're investigating parts that would that fall under our investigative purview.
Which is?
From narcotics to child exploitation to human trafficking to human smuggling, and 200 different things in between there, but not the network intrusion itself.
Any cases of blackmail towards the representative in the American government or military or stuff like that?
We have not verified any of that at this time.
Can you just comment on the fact that you're appealing to general hackers and computer types to help in this? I'm just wondering, for those families that you're talking about who've been affected by this, it just might seem make people a little uneasy to know if you need everybody's help, how much confidence can they have in this team that you're going to find who's behind this?
Again, it's bringing together a lot of law enforcement agencies to look at this. I'd prefer if Toronto Police Service answer that question. Again, we're supporting their lead on this investigation.
How confident are you that this is a case that's solvable?
As many years in law enforcement, a case is solvable. It's catching the right lead, and I think that's why a lot of calls for help have gone out.
Just the appeal to hackers seems, to outward observers who might not be buried in that community seems far-fetched that somebody might come forward. Why is that an avenue that you think is something that could be helpful?
Again, I'll let Toronto Police Service answer that question.
How concerned are you about this being slippery slope? We've heard about hackers threatening things before, but this is one of the sort of first big time that they've followed through and kind of gone through with what their threats is. And are you concerned that there could be copycats and this could be slippery slope?
We do, and again, that's why our participation in that of FBI is on this investigation. Is the security of the internet and the online community is very poignant, and it needs to be taken very seriously. So.
Sorry, could you just explain a little bit more about your role? You said it's not about investigating the breach. Is it about, there's been a risk, we've seen this military contractors, this government email addresses. Are you looking into the impacts that the exposure of them as customers could have on national security in the United States?
That is one angle, yes. Again, our other angles, we'd rather, it's very early in the investigation to say exactly where our investigative areas are going to focus on in this investigation.
Mr. Marcel, what's the general scenario under which national security of the United States could be under jeopardy by a leak of that sort? What could happen?
Anytime a government email or employee is put at a risk of exposure, national security is a concern.
And By government email, which department do you mean?
Any department.
You mentioned human smuggling being handled over here. Is that something that's a line of inquiry here that there's been people that
Any area that we investigate is a line of inquiry, and again, just being so new on the investigation, I'd rather leave that open.
When did you join the investigation?
We've initiated 2 weeks ago, last week.
Do you guys have a rundown of all the email addresses that were, do you have a general appreciation of the number of addresses that could be for the American government, then military, and so on and so forth? Would you have a ballpark figure for?
We do not, because again, there have been several that are fake email addresses that end in, what would be a traditional U.S. government email address.
Would it be fair to say that you were already taking in, an interest into everything that was going on before you were asked by Toronto Police to come in?
Since it was a network intrusion investigation, FBI took the lead on that, and that is their area of expertise.
Now, why would the American FBI, no offense here, but why would the FBI be interested in network intrusion that has to do with a Canadian company? I'm not sure of the link here. I'm trying to understand.
And I think I'll leave that for the experts on networks and movement of data and information.
Very good.
Any other questions?
Yeah, can we have Superintendent Evans? Superintendent?
Now, we're going to bring up my tech guy here. just so
Oh,
you know.
great, great.
Just to touch on your question there, you're asking why would the FBI, but this was worldwide. We're asking on all law enforcement. This is worldwide. It's not just a Canadian thing. And that's why we're drawing on any resources we can. And we have a good working relationship with Homeland and the FBI. I'm just going to let him finish out that one question.
Presumably, we have the means to do that on our own, don't we? So
What's
we have the means to do that on our own, don't we? So why, what's the reason?
What do you mean we have the means to do it on our own?
Well, network intrusion, can't we just investigate that on our side? Why would we need to bring in the FBI? I'm not
Okay,
saying we
we'll
should.
make it perfectly clear. We are in a position that we have victimizations. Their citizens are also victimized. We're looking at bringing in top security investigators from around the world to assist us in our investigation. It'd be foolish for us in Toronto to think that we can do this on our own.
Is CSIS involved in this investigation?
Who?
CSIS?
No.
If the person is charged, person who is found to be guilty outside of Canada, would that person be brought back here?
That's going to be up to the Crown Law Office. It's going to make that decision.
And can you just run down the charges that these hackers potentially face?
Well, what I was going to do is, first of all, you want to ask the question about why we reached out to the hacker community. So,
Just in regards to reaching out to the hacker community, it's Detective John Menard.
Can you spell it, sorry?
Yep, it's Menard, M-E-N-A-R-D, from the Technological Crime Unit. Just in the sense of reaching out to the hacker community, we're looking at sort of the white hat hackers, the guys that aren't involved sort of in what happened. And you're looking at the impact team who's operating sort of in the dark web, in the areas of the internet that we don't necessarily police on a daily basis. The internet's vast, it's huge. We wouldn't have the capability of looking at every nook and cranny, so to speak. So by appealing to to sort of the white hat hackers, if they find any information or know of any avenues that we need to explore, that's what we're looking at.
In terms of what you found out specifically about how it's been done, could you give an idea of how many man-hours the hackers must have spent on setting this up and committing the crime?
Again, that's sort of all part of the investigation at the moment, so I wouldn't really want to comment exactly.
The level of sophistication, I guess people are trying to get a sense of whether what you found in your investigation reveals something that's just a spider web of sophisticated hacking, or whether it's just some disgruntled employee.
I guess I could say in generally, it's very sophisticated.
So here's what I'm trying to get a sense of, because I have seen all the logos and things on their site and all the claims about security, and people use online banking. You mentioned what happened with Target. I'm trying to get a sense of what their level of security would be compared to something like RBC online banking. Like, how easy would it have been to get into this versus Target or something else?
Again, sort of those avenues of how it happened, that's sort of a part of our investigation, so I don't want to comment.
What would you say to somebody who uses the dark web and thinks that because they're on that, they're safe, they're okay?
I'd say, again, by appealing sort of to other people out there, I don't think you're safe anywhere on the internet.
How active are police on the dark web?
We have a presence.
And how convinced are you that this is a team as opposed to an individual?
Again, it's part of the investigation.
And how convinced are you that it was external and not internal?
Again, it's part of our investigation.
Do we have any questions for the OPP? That concludes today's conference. Thank you for our guests for attending. Have a good day. Sure, we can.
Speaking notes? Yeah, it's yours. Right there, buddy.